Now I gotta recap fucking day 8, man. Really? Jeez, fucking piece of shit day. Oh, yeah, here's my trades, guys. Yo, look at the accuracy. Yeah, how'd you finish? Not too fucking well. Anyway, let's get this over with. Hey, everybody, this is Alex, and this is the recap for day number 8. And if I sound pretty happy right now, that's because I'm faking it, because this was a ridiculous train wreck. I don't even know where to start on this day. I'm not even going to be covering the trades, that's for sure. So forget that. I'm going to be showing you them, obviously, but there's not really, I'm at a loss for words, which you may be able to notice right now. And what I want right now, more than anything, is to just be done making recaps for the day and just forget this happened, for now at least. I'll study it later. And just get on with my day. It's been a pretty ruckus kind of 3 days for me. I've had to do a lot of work that's way outside my field of expertise, that's not really familiar to me, and that has caused some stress. And then in addition to that, I went ahead and made all the mistakes in the book, like literally gone down the list of all the dumbass things you can do as a trader. And I did them all apparently in one day today, so that's quite an accomplishment. So anyway, we're closing here with a daily result of $11.45 of P&L, which is just over 0.5% ROE. And you may be thinking, oh, Alex, I think you made a mistake there. Don't you mean $11,450 in net P&L? Because your balance for the start of the day was $2,500. No, I don't mean $11,450. Are you sure? Because this is the day that GME... I know about GME. I don't need to talk about GME, goddammit. Oh, well, that's okay. We don't have to talk about GME. We can also, I just thought you'd have a good day because, you were watching KOSS. And yeah, I know I was watching KOSS. I don't need you to tell me that I was watching KOSS, okay? Oh, no, it's just I thought maybe you misprinted your net P&L and it was actually, you missed a zero. No, I didn't miss any zeros. There's nothing wrong here. It's $11.45. That's it. I screwed this day up. This is borderline a snowball day, even though it's green. There are some positives, some macroscopic views that we can take to put a positive spin here, and I will get to that at the end. And the educational value is high, regardless of your experience level. So we are going to get into some positives at the end. The takeaway is going to be mainly positive. But first, we definitely have to cover some of the things I did wrong today and some of the things that went wrong today, because I feel like I was just completely off. I was zigging when I was supposed to zag, and it never really improved. And most importantly of all, it did not improve because I made mistakes pre-market. I talk all the time about my pre-market checklist, and boy did I ever fail that, and it's no surprise, no coincidence whatsoever that the result that I booked today was a complete embarrassment. That is not a disconnected thing there. That's absolutely, one was caused by the other. So as we switch over to my trade log here with the 942 trades from today or whatever, I think it's actually 9. Anyway, trades from today are highlighted there at the bottom. I'll switch over so you can see position sizes. Pause if you need to, if you need a better look. And, I'm not going to be talking about too many of these. Mostly what I want to say about coming into this day was that, like I mentioned in the recap from day 7, I was planning very much on taking today off. Now, although I was planning on taking 3 days off and I did break that on Tuesday, Tuesday was different because I set myself up to have time. I thought about it in advance and I took measures to make sure that I would not be bothered and that things would unfold smoothly. And as a result, I think I had a pretty decent day, even though it was frustrating and I got caught in a, bit of a crappy situation where I think I should have booked a substantial winner on KOSS. I wasn't too upset with it. And then meanwhile, I come into today with no plan. I mean, I went to bed at 3 a.m. We're talking about 3 a.m. bedtime here. My cutoff is supposed to be midnight or shortly after midnight. And I found myself going to bed at 3 a.m. I found myself postponing my alarm. Normally it's 8 o'clock. I set it to 8:55. And when I woke up, I didn't even try to do anything that I was supposed to. It's absolutely a failure of discipline. There's no excuse. And I'll just mention, I know I haven't got into it yet. I'm still making the video, so sorry about that. But my pre-market checklist contains 2 extraordinarily important items. Number 1 is eating. Eating has to be done in a certain way. I have years worth of data that shows me that there's a certain breakfast that I need to eat. But even if I don't eat that certain breakfast, I still need to eat something. And I've tracked the results of, how do I eat versus how do I perform? And it's really key. It's really obvious that breakfast is the key. You have to have that brain food, especially on stressful days when there's a lot of stuff moving like today. This was the worst possible day to skip breakfast. And to compound that mistake, I didn't even have a protein shake, which is something that I sometimes supplement my light breakfast that I eat in the morning. Instead of doing that, sometimes I just go with a protein shake. If I'm, feeling maybe my stomach's not so great, then I just have that instead. And I didn't even do that. Number 2 is I did not shower in the morning. Now, the shower on my pre-market checklist is very much about waking up more than being clean. Because in an average day, I generally shower 2 or 3 times anyway, and a lot of the time, one of those is right before I go to bed. So it's not like I wake up needing a shower. It's more that I wake up kind of groggy, and it's that shower that wakes me up and gets me into the go, go, go mode. And those 2 items were completely ignored on my list. And, I knew at the time it was going to be a problem, and I didn't even really try to correct it. I went straight to my desk. As soon as I woke up, I went out for a smoke that took 5 minutes, and then at 9 o'clock, I was at my desk looking up scans and what's going on, and hey, everybody in chat, and, I'm in my pajamas. I'm not even dressed yet, and here I am, doing research on stocks, and my eyes are practically still closed at this point. Why would that ever be a good decision? And to be quite honest, a lot of the time when stuff like this happens, when I make a big gaffe, I am aware of it in the moment. I'm thinking oh shit, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And I have to say, before the bell rang, and at least, I didn't really have that feeling. I kept making excuses for myself, and I would accept that. Because last night I had discovered, the whole story on GME. I had looked into a lot more short squeezes. And, I kind of anticipated a lot of movement today. And so I just kind of assumed that there would be easy money. And I just overlook the importance of this discipline checklist. This is there for a reason. And if you look even in this account, I know a lot of you guys listening, you probably don't know really much anything about my history. But even if you don't know that history and you just look at this account in the 8 active days that I've had so far, you will see a pattern already in the recaps. That's discipline failed, bad day. Discipline checklist good, good day. And that pattern extends 3 or 4 years into the past as clearly as can be. And, a lot of the time it's the breaks that I take in between accounts. When I have a month and a half break, my lifestyle goes back into, really undisciplined territory. And coming back into it, I have a hard time. And I thought I did a good job at first before I launched the account. And since then, I find myself failing almost 50% of the time. There's a problem with how I get myself ready to trade, whether it's the night before or the morning of. Now, I want to take a break from ranting about discipline fails to point out something that I noticed first yesterday on KOSS and then again today on several names, including KOSS, which was a pattern of weird order issues being present. I don't know quite how to describe it other than the bid was higher than the ask, or was showing higher than the ask. And I'll cut in a few examples here so you can see. And what I'd like you to notice is on the bid side on the level 2, we've got a bunch of support levels that are listed with, X amount of shares available on the bid. But then if you look up on the level 1, that's where the real price is listed. It was the pattern that I eventually figured out was that the level 1 was telling the truth and the level 2 was lying. And so that threw me off early in the day. It was a technical problem that I didn't understand. And right there, just based on that is a trigger to be careful. That is exactly the kind of spot where I should be reacting by being safer rather than, just getting involved in something, not understanding what's actually going on. And that issue with the level 2 and the quotes that I didn't quite understand, that made me chunk out of positions, that is close positions, in spots where the data really didn't warrant it. And it threw me off a little bit. And, after I took a couple of quick little scalps that I wasn't, displeased with, I was okay, even though they were small. I legitimately thought about closing, because that's the first time I thought about closing after my first 2 trades, where I thought, listen, there's a lot of weird stuff going on today. I'm not in a good position. I didn't do any of my checklists. What the hell am I even doing here? I should probably just take this green, be happy, and then make a recap that scolds myself for, trading under suboptimal conditions. And I think that's one of the contributing factors. There were quite a few today, but one of the contributing factors as to why I produce these terrible patterns. I mean, if you haven't noticed it already, I'll go ahead and point out that all of my winners were held for less time than my two losers. And I don't think it's disconnected that my two losers are also almost bigger than every one of my winners. There's only this one little exception down here. Or no, that isn't even an exception on the net side. So yeah, every loser is bigger than every winner, and every winner was held for less time. And I think this is really a reflection of a lack of focus that resulted from all these things going wrong today, and also that resulted from my inability to stop it. I mean, it sounds kind of like, like almost, I'm making it sound like an out-of-body experience. It really wasn't. I was very much present in the moment, and I knew I could feel it, at the beginning of the day where there was everything squeezing up and I couldn't keep up with it. There was 15 minutes or so from 9:30 to 9:45 where I had to silence my scanners, first of all, from the Calevra trading stream. I had to cancel all that because that was annoying. It was just like call outs all the time, nonstop. And that was really irritating me. And then on top of that, I'd find myself looking at high of day hits that I never even heard of, these names that just come out of nowhere. And a lot of them were in the middle cap range, or at least middle price range. Their floats weren't all that high, but they were squeezing up all over the place. There were 20 and 30% squeezes on these, names above $20, like $20 to $100. There was all kinds of stuff squeezing, and I found myself distracted by that. And instead of trying to reduce the distraction by perhaps picking a few and just focusing on those, which would have been a great decision, because one of the ones I thought about doing that early with was EXPR. That's one of the ones where I was like, okay, this is the type of thing I should be paying attention to. I should be watching UONE and RHE and EXPR, because those are the types of stocks that I'm used to trading. That's where my thousands of trades of experience comes from. So what the hell am I doing getting involved with a 20 share position on Bed Bath & Beyond? And, sure enough, like I'm not even upset that I got burned so badly on this one, because I deserved it. I deserved every penny of this loss and then some. And that wasn't the only mistake, of course. I mean, I said at the beginning that I pretty much ran down the list of all the stupid things you can do as a trader, and I really did. I succumbed to FOMO. I was undisciplined. I revenge traded. You can see this KOSS trade right here. This was me seeing like the future, and I saw like a big run. Like I thought, okay, we've tested the bottom a couple times here. This looks like exactly the spot where these huge runners are going to happen. Like the only thing that I have posted publicly is from a simulator in 2019. It's on this channel. NXTC was one of the names. I remember that one. Anyway, there was a couple of spots in like $20 to $50 ranges where I picked up on the price action, certain things in the tape that I thought, okay, this is exactly the spot where this is going to rip. And I got involved at 1850. You can see my entry. I'll bring up my thing there for the proof. Right here, 1849, I was in at 1034.01. And I said I wasn't going to bring up the charts, but given that since I started making this recap, KOSS has like doubled, I think we're going to go ahead and look at just exactly what I gave up. So I've blown up the 1 minute chart here, and you can see my entry is way the hell down here. This is when I saw it happening on this ramp up here. And I thought, okay, once we break that the 1950 level, which was at the time a pretty significant one, I thought, okay, this is the spot where we're going to rip, and I just didn't give it the chance. I don't know why. I don't even remember why I closed this trade. I think maybe it was because I was a bit scared. I bought the top of this candle and immediately was met with a $1 pullback, which, put me down $50 unrealized. And whenever that happens, I tend to get a little shaken by it. I'm not somebody who's used to being in the red for a very long time. And you might notice even in just this account that in trades where I am red right away, my decisions deteriorate or have a tendency to mainly deteriorate. And that's what happened here. I mean, if you look even on the 1 minute chart, even if we're looking at tiny time frames here, there is no 1 minute candle that broke the low of the previous 1 minute candle until here. Until the crash down, there was a halt at $30.10, and then resumption, it broke down right away. And that was the first time since I bought that there was a 1 minute candle that broke the low of the previous one. And that infuriated me. I'll be pretty honest that I exited, and then I kept talking myself out of re-entering because I thought I would be chasing. And then, the stock proceeds to do that, and it goes on a halt fest that lasts a few minutes. And, it's just instant resolution. And even at $23 on this candle, hold on this candle right here, there was bouncing off that 21.31. I thought, okay, this looks like a dip and rip. I should probably take like 25 shares here. I'm going to reduce the size because it's dangerous, but I should still get in. This is still a valid move. And I didn't. And that pissed me off. And the way that I ended up handling being pissed off was just jumping on the next thing I saw, which happened to be UUU. And I just jumped right in that. Did very little research or preparation. I just saw a kind of good looking pattern on the chart and thought, okay, yeah, let's go. Because everything, there was a recurring pattern that was at a very high frequency where one stock would rip up into a halt and then we'd be halted on that stock. And then all the focus would switch over to another one. And even though it would have made sense to be planning for sympathy momentum like that, the way that I actually did it was not smart at all. I pretty much just jumped in this on a whim, and as a result, I took a huge loss on it, 10%. And that ruined my day, like in terms of P&L. I was on a decent little scalping streak here, even though a lot of these trades were questionable and I didn't book any kind of good result. I certainly didn't meet my target on most of them. And, following that, I go and butcher that little tiny stretch of success by taking this goofy trade on UUU. Anyway, I think it's pretty clear by this point in the video that I'm not very pleased with what I did today. And I think you get that by now. I don't think I have to spend 40 minutes detailing everything I did wrong. There are a lot of things I would like to talk about, but I think the most important thing is how to deal with this. What am I doing to react to this day? And this is an area where I do excel. Even though I tend to make a lot of mistakes, I do punish myself very well. And so what I came up with almost immediately after having closed was, number one, I volunteered to shovel 2 driveways. I live in Canada, and there's just a big snowfall that fell. And throughout the day, because the sun was out, it got heavy. And so I waited. I waited specifically until the sun hit that snow to make it heavier, to make it more of a pain in the ass for me to shovel. And so I not only did my driveway, but I also did 2 other driveways for my neighbor. And that's part of what I'm going to do. And so that's one of the things. And the other thing is 100 push-ups before midnight. So far I've done 40. So I've got 60 left. It's currently just before 5 p.m. And I've got to do 60 push-ups before midnight, which for a guy like me who doesn't work out too much, that is a bit of an ordeal. It's certainly going to put a damper on my night. And that's important. I don't want to be too comfortable. I don't want to enjoy the rest of my day too much. And another thing that I'm doing, something I was planning for tonight because it was the last night where I had pain in the ass work, like I mentioned earlier, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday meetings, that's done soon. And so I'm happy about that. And what I was planning is to have steak and asparagus, which is one of my favorite meals. And I just went to the store last night and got them in preparation. And what I'm going to do tonight is not have that. I'm going to have something terrible. I'm going to have like Kraft Dinner or whatever, rice with nothing or whatever, something that I don't enjoy. And maybe even something that causes a lot of dishes so that I have a pain in the ass waiting for me later too. And in addition to that, those dishes have to be cleaned by tomorrow if I want to trade. And so that leaves an extra hurdle, an extra thing to make sure I have to do if I want to trade tomorrow. Now, that's what I'm going to be doing to punish myself, and that is important. I really do think so. And I think it's important to note as well that these 2 things that I just mentioned, those could both be done for somebody who's in a simulator. I hear very rarely, but I do hear sometimes people speak against the use of simulators, which is next level stupid, but we'll get into that another time. In any case, the argument is that simulators they don't feel the same, and you don't care about the money as much. Well, if you start removing your favorite supper from that night, if you start doing extra work that doesn't pay you anything, and you start upsetting the other areas of your day, well, then guess what? You are going to be motivated to do well in that simulator. That's a bit off topic there, but what I'm doing in this case is making sure I don't zoom too far in on the short term, which is something I've already been guilty of a couple of times in this account and several times in previous accounts, is not realizing that it's okay on a grander scale. And that's, I look at sometimes my figures in this account and I'm like, ah, shit, like I lost 5% on day 2. That was a big loss. But that isn't actually 5%. Even if I were to blow another $500 before the end of the month in this account, I'm not even going to be down 7% overall on my total balance. Because keep in mind, the majority of this account is sitting idle in a bank. And if I need it, if the style I'm attempting here doesn't work out, well, then I can always revert to the one that I do have experience with that does work out. And so even though I'm trying something a little big here, it's important to realize that it's like so far from over and that my buy-in strategy is going to protect me. And I don't want to get too far into the buy-in strategy because I am making a separate video to explain that stuff. But the theme behind that notion is that you have to look at the bigger picture. And I think that's something that just we as humans generally don't do, especially in developed countries where you forget the basics, I mean, this isn't anywhere near the mistakes I'd have to make to even like reach for this reaction. But in life, in other areas outside of trading, when really bad things happen to me, when I suffer, I'm always drawn back to the thought that, well, I'm blessed in life. Like first of all, I shouldn't even be alive past 15 years old. And beyond that, there's so many spots where, I mean, the advantages I was born with, all the things that I have going for me that I didn't work for on top of that, I was born into advantages that continue to help me, today. And here I am sitting in my home, self-employed with a business that I love and a career that I love and a lifestyle that I really enjoy. And, I get to make my own rules and there's all this freedom. I mean, freedom trading isn't an accidental name. That's very much why I live and why I do things the way I do is because I want the freedom and I have the freedom. So how much does it really matter? Even if I had snowballed like an idiot, like a complete psycho, and lost $500 today, how much does that really matter? And I believe it's asking that rhetorical question, which isn't always rhetorical, that is going to help me certainly get in shape as quickly as by tomorrow morning. Because in this type of job, you can't let that stuff fester. You have to actually get back on the horse, so to speak, and get back at her. And if you don't, then that's when problems start to snowball. And that certainly was the case, by the way, as a passing note, in my 4th live account, which I blew up. But in any case, I think that's going to be it for me. This is now 4 hours I've been doing this recap, and another 2 for the one before it. So I am pretty goddamn sick of making videos today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this because I feel the red days, even though this wasn't a red day, it was red behavior. And I feel it's days like this when you make the worst mistakes that help you grow as a trader. Not necessarily you, the viewer, but me as well. And I think that's the note I'll close on, is that I can't tell you how helpful these public recaps are for me. It's in terms of accountability, I think there's nothing better for most people. Now, I'm a bit of an exception in that case, in that you, whoever you are, your opinion means absolutely nothing to me. I'm definitely science before everything, and if I care about any one person's opinion, it's going to be me and only me. However, most people aren't like that. Most people are affected by, how people think of them. I think social media is a great example of that. And so putting these out there, I mean, I really fucked up today. I made a lot of mistakes, and in my opinion at least, I embarrassed myself today. And it's been embarrassing to have to go through this and to have to show you. And, you can look these charts up, you can take my entries, you can look at how bad some of these trades are. And that's the note I'll close on, is that while I'm not happy with the result or my behavior, I'm really happy to be in a position to even have this kind of thing bothered me. And I'm also happy to be back in the public eye, to be able to have this bankable information that, I can look back on whenever I want. And see if there's areas where I could have grown or, whatever, look for improvement. So we'll see how it goes. I'm planning on being pretty goddamn strict. I don't think I'm going to let myself score less than 95% on the discipline checklist tomorrow morning. I think there is a decent probability that it's going to be a no trades day, possibly for the next 2 days. We'll see how that goes. I'm not planning on it right now. Just in making this recap, again, the value of the recap, it has been a little bit healing to hear myself talk about it, to force myself to think about these situations. And so I think I'm going to continue that trend tonight. I might go out, hang out with some friends for a bit, and try to get some social interaction to bring me back into a positive light so that I can go to bed happy, wake up happy, and get back to business tomorrow.